got Bound for Glory 2020 from Impact Wrestling, and then we're going to be taking the rewind, as they call it, back to Unforgiven 1999 and explore the amazing, terrible, you'll find out, Kennel from Hell match. So how are you doing this week, Dara?
I'm doing good, Dave. I'm doing good. Finally getting over some of the technical issues that we've been having and plaguing me. Thanks to my little pup, she nearly destroyed my computer, but it's okay.
Puppies.
Yeah, well, not in the Jerry King Lawler sense of the word. But yeah, so we got like a bunch of stuff to do this week. A twofer, of course. In my opinion, actually, probably the best pay-per-view of the year from Impact Wrestling. And then an interesting pay-per-view from 1999. So yeah, we got a bunch to talk about, guys. If you're in the chat again, please do leave your comments and let us know what you think. We're going to run for about an hour. So again, thanks to Jay and True Penny on the True Penny channel for having us on. We have been taking a bit of an unscheduled break from there, obviously, because my technical issues have, not allowed me to.
We both happen to have October birthdays, so that got in the mix.
Absolutely, as well. So, but we're all back on track now. Obviously, we're looking like we're going to be doing this every Friday night anyway, because it just seems to make more sense. And yeah, again, like we're as far as the WWE side of things, we're going pretty much all the way up. So our next pay-per-view is going to be Survivor Series 1999. And yeah, speaking of which, Dave, before we get into the Bound for Glory show, you were wrong, sir.
I was wrong?
Yeah. So you said we're never going to see The Undertaker again.
Wait, what? Okay, yeah. This is time to play David Doesn't Follow the News.
David doesn't follow the news, no.
No. In case you guys, in Ireland, you're not aware. Well, I mean, you are aware. Who isn't in the world? But things have been a bit crazy over here in my country. So what's going on, Dara? Give me. We'll play the game. Let's play the game.
Okay, we'll play the game. So, which of the three is real and which isn't? So The Undertaker is coming back to wrestle for the WWE title against The Fiend at Survivor Series.
No way.
The Undertaker is coming back to officially retire at Survivor Series. Or The Undertaker is teaming with Kane against an unspecified opponent at Survivor Series.
Okay, coming back for a retirement at Survivor Series doesn't make sense to me because there's no crowd. Even though it is his debut was at Survivor Series originally, if I remember.
20 years
because
ago,
originally
correct.
He thought that he was going to be the gobbledygooker. It was the whole thing.
Yeah.
But so it would make sense. Ooh, that could be true. Is this one of those trick ones where it's 2 out of 3?
Make your guess. You'll find out.
Oh my gosh. Oh, please tell me he's not wrestling. No, he already wrestled Wyatt, so it can't be that. Is he? Oh my God, he's wrestling. He's teaming with Kane.
No, he's having his farewell event at Survivor Series. Apparently, that's how they're booking it this year.
But there's no crowd.
I know, that's what I thought, but that's the news. That like this whole pay-per-view is going to be built around him, apparently. The stunned silence from Dave, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, the only thing I watched, I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but there's actually shows on the WWE Network, and I watched After the Bell this past week that Corey Graves hosts, and AJ Styles was on it, which is why I watched After the Bell this week. And
I'm shocked.
Make mention, yeah, right, shock, pure shock. He did make mention of the fact that he still wants to have a live match with The Undertaker at a WrestleMania, that it's still planned out in his head. He wants to do it with 80,000 people cheering and going crazy. So AJ wants to do it.
Yeah, as I said, look, I don't think The Undertaker's finished at wrestling. It's just not going to happen until he's dead, until he's actually a dead man. I just don't see it. I think, they'll build around it all right. They'll probably do a thing. It'll be a big celebration for the 20 years. It makes sense. They have literally nothing else.
30 years, you mean?
Is it 30 years? Okay, yeah. Oh, it is 30 years, yeah. 30
25.
Years. No, wait, 1990. No, it's like 30 years. Yeah, it is 30 years.
Was it 1990 that he debuted? Or was it 1994?
Yeah. No, 1990. He was like world champion by 94.
Yeah. The Purple Glove phase.
Yes, correct. But yeah, Look, it is what it is. As I said, current WWE is such a slog. So, I think that makes it easier.
Hey,
Honestly.
did you watch Hell in a Cell this week?
Yeah, no, it was this week. No, it was last week.
I don't know. I didn't watch it either, though.
Yeah, it was terrible. Don't watch it. But what wasn't terrible, ladies and gentlemen, honestly, right now, I will be fully transparent. I don't know what I was expecting watching the show, but I was blown away. It was like Bound for Glory 2020 is, and Impact Wrestling in general. Impact Wrestling is probably the best wrestling show you can watch on TV. And I'll tell you why. Let me have a bit of a rant, Dave. The reason why is it finally knows what it is. It's like established itself as being a really, really comfortable, like, number 3. It's not trying to be AEW. It's not trying to be WWE. It's trying to be itself, and it is succeeding. Everything was paced super well. The show was super entertaining. There was one really bad spot on it. I will have to be fair. We'll call it out, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And then when I watched Unforgiven, I was like, oh, this is why, because it's a structured program that makes sense, that is engaging, and actually has something to offer. Impact Wrestling has more to offer than any of your companies. Honestly, because I didn't hate it. I genuinely sat there and I was like, this is an entertaining show. Now, there were elements that could have been better, but all the elements that could have been better were completely overshadowed by the great moments of it. And Emma was there, and I popped like you wouldn't believe. And yeah, man, I loved it. I thought it was great. Honestly, there's very little on the show that I could say was bad. Actually, there is only one thing on the show that was bad, and that, it was what it was. But Rhino won, and I love Rhino. I thought the whole Collier shots gauntlet was great.
It was interesting. Yeah, that was an interesting victory for me. I expected them to give it to somebody younger. I was expecting Sammy to get it, but
no. Well, it made sense because of the story, and this is what I mean.
Right.
The booking in this told a story, and it was a story that you could get behind. And even though there was nobody in the crowd, it felt more real and more alive than watching anything from the Thunderdome.
That's really true, because Thunderdome's gotten to a point where I feel like I'm watching a video game.
That's what it feels like. It feels like, and I think because the crowd noises is actually from the 2K game.
Video game. Yeah. But just even the panels, the way that they're animated reminds me of the way that they're animated in the video game. And this to me it actually, now, granted, if I had just seen this match and this was the first lockdown match I've ever seen, then I would have been like, this is super weird. But I'm so used to no crowds now.
Yeah.
I was like, it took me 3 matches before I realized there wasn't a crowd there.
Yeah, same.
And they weren't pumping in volume or anything like that.
Whatever way they did it, whatever way they have it set up, I do have to give them credit, because they actually set it up better, no crowd, than WWE did. WWE always felt like a weird stage play. This just feels like wrestling. Yeah. And it's just really, really decent like that. Like, let's start with the opener.
Let's do it.
The 6-way intergender scramble match. 1, I love scramble matches. 2, intergender match, which was very strange.
I like
it too. I've never seen an intergender scramble match
a couple times, right? This has been a topic of discussion. Can you still do intergender matches?
Yeah, if you do them like this
nowadays. Yeah, if you do it like this, you absolutely can.
Yeah, and remember, it's the X Division, so there's no limits, right? Willie Mack, friend of the show, was on it. I love TJ Perkins. I was like, oh man, cool. Suicide is back. Awesome, it was good. The whole match was about a good 13 minutes. I love the way they brought back this introducing the X Division as like the hype opener. I think it's the best way to open a show, because it really gets people into it, and even though there's no crowd, that still kind of carries through, because you're like, right, this is a great little baseline. And everyone in there was great. I love the fact that the Rohit was such a heel. He really is like this ultimate heel. And I thought the commentators, I had a weird relationship with the commentary team.
It was interesting. Don Callis and Josh Matthews. I love Josh Matthews. I'm a big fan.
Me too. I'm a big fan too. And I like, I think Don Callis is a really cool addition to that as well. At certain points, I thought they were taking the piss out of Vince McMahon with the way they were, the way they were pushing the heel kind of thing. But they had really good chemistry. So at certain points, it was better than others. But I think compared it to WWE, which I don't want to do that much. That's not what we're doing here. But
Yeah.
it was not annoying. It didn't take me out of the show. It was really cool to just kind of sit back and just watch a current wrestling product where it's wrestling and they're just doing their own thing and it's working.
Right. And they were telling the stories throughout the night, and it reminded me kind of the Lucha Underground. I was always a big fan of the Matt Striker and Vampiro commentary.
Well, Matt Striker was on the show as well. Apparently earlier on in the night, he does the pre-shows.
Right.
So,
but I really like that commentary. And there was during WrestleMania weekend, maybe 2 years ago, Josh Matthews and Matt Striker called a card together on one of the indie promotions that was live streamed, and I really enjoyed those two together.
I think like the best Impact now, they've picked up kind of where they are. They picked up that mantle from Ring of Honor and from Chikara and Lucha Underground, and they've taken all those stuff and now plugged it into a really, really solid product that has its own identity, and it's really working for them. Like, I would watch Impact, and look, as a direction this channel is going to be covering Impact pretty heavily, because they've been great to us, and I'll be honest with you, the product is great. It's not it's not a chore to watch.
It's not boring.
No, WWE's a nightmare
case
to
in
watch.
point, TJP putting in that like 4-person stranglehold. I love that. I loved it.
I've never seen that before.
I've seen 3 people before, but he took it to the next level with 4, and I was like, this is verging on like breaking kayfabe, but at the same time, I love it because it's new and interesting.
Yeah, but the thing about the X Division, it really can be anything. It can be a cartoon. Right. It can be a car crash. It can be a video
still
game.
Have
it can
innovation.
Be a blood match. Yeah,
that's what I love.
And that, I think, Impact when it was TNA or whatever, during the dark times, if kind of forgot what it was, and it was, people were like, oh, we remember it being this thing where it was innovative, completely different and its own thing, and then it kind of went another way. But now it's great that they've circled back and they're like, right, well, what are we doing? This is it. Like, I would hand of any wrestling in 2020, I would hand Impact Wrestling to someone and say, here you go, this is what you want. If you guys aren't watching Impact Wrestling, do AEW is a bit of a hot mess, and WWE is going to be WWE. This is a really, really nice alternative, and the fact that the X Division is kicking ass and really going for it is fantastic.
Until we're back in the time period when we have live crowds and things can return to normal in terms of that, WWE is going to be very predictable. It's going to be the place where the big names stay and they cash their checks and they're happy and they put on suitable matches. AEW is going to be kind of weird, but the needle's not really going to move. Impact is the place where we're going to see people trying new things, trying to innovate, because they're trying to get recognized by these other brands as well as establishing themselves as their own company. So I think that this is the most intriguing to watch, because we're seeing, half the card, I didn't know who they were, but I was still engaged. And that's what I like.
And I agree. That's exactly the same as me. Like, you can hand this to somebody and go, look, you're going to like this. Oh, who's on it? Doesn't matter. You're going to like it. Compared to...
It's like an old Ring of Honor tape from 2003, 2004. You can just hand this to somebody and say, you'll enjoy this. Who's on it? It doesn't matter. You'll really like this.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think, Impact now has gone back to really kind of being that future producer, that future star maker, which it always was. Look at current WWE. Most of the stars there are former TNA guys, right?
Absolutely.
That's what they are, and that's what they always kind of work the best in it. I think this has more to offer than an AEW show, because it's really grating, man. It really is. But with this, throughout the whole time, it just gave us wrestling, and that's all I want. The next match, as an Intergender Call Your Shot, basically it's a Royal Rumble, right? This was great. It was a really, really fun match. The list of people who showed up, like, it was really strange and really weird, but I really liked it. Daivari showing up wearing the same stuff that he did before he left Impact. Obviously, Tommy Dreamer showing up as the Road Warrior.
And Swoggle doing
Swoggle. Well, I was not expecting that.
Doing the Legion of Doom that cracked me up.
But man, it was just great, and the whole story to this build up to, because even on their social media, Heath Slater, and Rhino have been doing the whole thing where it's like, oh, we want a job in Impact, blah blah, and this is building up to it. So there was some investment throughout the whole show, and to be honest with you, I haven't had that watching even a Raw Rumble in a while, because it's like, well, there's not really any stakes here outside the whole you get a title match, right? Well, what's that mean? This, not only do you get a title match, but they added in the whole
choose your title.
Not only, but there's more than that. Like, Rhino's job was on the line. It made him like an ultimate babyface.
Very true.
It told a story with Sammy as well, where he's a piece of what, right? He's like a super bad guy. And that was carried
Sammy's
over.
Great. Sammy
is great. But he was on the show like a fair bit and doing it. And that's what I mean. Like, it's having this interconnectivity where it feels like it's a lived-in universe, and it's much better than this isolated, blocked out segments that we get elsewhere. AEW kind of does it with the Inner Circle, but even lately they've moved away from it. So it's like, okay, well, we're not getting this anymore. It feels like the Attitude Era in its construction, which is not a bad thing. It's not a knock.
That's funny. I was about to say, it remind me of late 1990s WWE, where there were storylines that carried throughout the night. Absolutely.
And then when I watched Unforgiven, because I watched Unforgiven right after it, I'm like, oh well, this feels exactly like what they're going for, and I think that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. Obviously, I grew up with it. It's what wrestling is to me. Dave, you're seeing the merits of it, but I think it's the best way to build your stars. As you said, like, I knew the majority of people on this card, but there's lots of people who didn't. And I wasn't bored, because everything mattered. Everything felt like it was important, and everything felt like it's going to build into something else. It's so refreshing to have that now, that this is a gem. I love that Rhino won. It was great. Actually, can I just say one thing as well? When the match kind of turns in, goes from a Raw Rumble to like a straight match, I think that's a really good idea.
I like it too. TNA's always done that to be different than a straight Royal Rumble, but I really like it.
Yeah, I think it makes way more sense than the Raw Rumble. I know some people are going to be like, "Oh my god, how dare you say that?" But
I mean, here's what doesn't happen in this situation. Vince McMahon doesn't have to run out and tear both his quads.
Yeah, true. Like, I think it removes.
You're welcome, people, if you got that reference from like 2004.
2005, 2006.
5 or 6.
But yeah, I'd rather the Rumble did this. I think this is a much better way of constructing the match, because it's like the ending comes more naturally than just, oh, out you go. But then again, there are some moments that wouldn't have happened if, in a good way. But I think this is a really good kind of thing that TNA Impact Wrestling have done now to ensure that when this happens, it's a big deal. And so, fair play. It's really good. Major points there. So even in the first 2 matches, it's already better than most things I've seen this year. Moose defeated EC3. Now, this was a weird match because it wasn't really a match. I liked the kind of build up to it in the segments. Moose, it doesn't really do anything for me. I liked this kind of thing with, having the old TNA belt. That was fun. EC3 I do like, but this needed a bit of work from me. It was
this was my dud of the night, personally.
Yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting. It was too out there. So look, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It was bloody. I'll give you that. It was bloody.
I like EC3. Love EC3. I really like that he's back in Impact, and they seem like they know who they have, and they're gonna go with it. But it needs a bit more work. Needs a bit more time in the oven.
I liked Moose originally when the first couple times I saw him. I don't know, maybe he's missing something. I don't know what.
Yeah,
but again, this was cinematically shot and it was really weird. So
yeah, it was really weird. It gets a pass from me because it was something different. And again, trying to do the cinematic thing, why not? I don't have anything else to say other than that.
Yeah.
Ken Shamrock with Eddie Edwards. This was a great match. This was a
before we
great
even get to the match. The Rock was on Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, did you notice? Oh wait, of course you didn't know this. You don't read the news. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, so
We have a whole section on our show about this, Dara.
I know. Damn, I actually should have done. I should have said that last week. Anyway, yeah.
I would never believe
right.
that The Rock was on Impact Wrestling. No, never in a day.
So Ken Shamrock went into the Hall of Fame, all right, which is great. You know, I think Ken Shamrock should be in all the Hall of Fames because Ken Shamrock is amazing, and I love Ken. You know this. I love Ken Shamrock.
You love him.
Yeah, he's
and
great.
right now we're coincidentally watching the whole Rock Ken Shamrock angle.
Right,
so
it's crazy.
If we hadn't been watching this and doing this on our own, I would have had like no idea. Why would The Rock go out of his way to thank Ken Shamrock? But then in context, it actually made sense. I was like, yeah, Ken Shamrock did a lot for Rocky on his way up.
He literally kind of showed him how to wrestle and how to get, really good. So look, I think it was a cool choice. Cynically, there's reasons, but I don't think, to be honest with you, this was done from a cynical standpoint point of view. Like, it makes sense. And anyway, I've seen some people say that. I'm like, no, watch WWE from 98, 99 and then come back. Right. You'll understand
what were the criticisms? I don't understand. It's not like Rock is not being nice to Vince. He bought the XFL from him. Like, he's fine.
It's more just a case of, let's grab a big name. That's where cynically it's coming from, and I don't think that's
The Rock isn't a big name. Well, let me.
The Rock's the biggest name.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's not like you're getting, Mankind or Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan. No, you're getting The Rock. You're getting the guy who transcended wrestling and is the highest paid actor in Hollywood.
Yeah,
you're getting the star on the planet. That's a different level. That's, if this is even bigger than if Stone Cold were to cut like a little promo. Like The Rock is in a different level.
You see, that's what I mean though, right? Like, this is why I'm so pumped by Impact now. I'm so pumped where they are as a company. They're past that point. They're past that rough period where let's just bring people in, because that's not a thing now. To bring people in who add value, and having The Rock come in adds the most value because it makes sense as well because of who it is for. I think this was a great coup. The promo was fantastic. And look, I'm happy for Ken Shamrock, obviously. I think, it's only a matter of time before he gets a WWE nod. But to be fair, this is a bigger thing because he actually had a bigger impact, excuse the pun, on the promotion. Like, that's one of the main things that when I was watching Impact Wrestling for the first time was Ken Shamrock was on it. And I was like, oh my God, he disappeared randomly. Now he's back. This is great. So yeah, it was cool. And I think I love the fact that he is like actually wrestling now as like a star.
Gosh,
and
he's ripped.
But he's so good. Like, I know people are like, he's old or whatever, but yeah, man.
Yeah,
he's still
he has
really
that
good.
old look, but he's not Chris. No offense, he's not Chris Jericho old. Where you're just like, oh, you look really old. Why are you still doing this? Like, Ken Shamrock looked like, yeah, you're old, but I'm pretty sure you could still kill me.
See, that's the thing, right? He's 59, right? And Jericho is just turned 50. But Shamrock could kill you. And the stuff he was doing in the match, even his kicks, the high head kicks at his age is unbelievable. And
it's crazy.
It's better stuff than he was doing in WWE as far as like his moveset and stuff. It's just like, oh my God, like he's a believable world champion, and TNA Impact Wrestling aren't even using him as that. They're using him in this great feud with Eddie Edwards.
And speaking of which, huge nod to the baseball bat.
Oh, absolutely. I love that.
Because for people who haven't been paying attention, this has been going on for 2 years now, this storyline?
Yeah, 2 years.
Across multiple promotions. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
That they're keeping this going.
And that's what I mean. Impact Wrestling know who they are. They're telling these long-form storylines, and everything is informing it. Bringing in Ken Shamrock as well to continue. It's fantastic. Eventually, when this does kind of blow off, it's going to go somewhere. It's going to be a huge payoff for them. But they're taking their time. I thought this was a great 13-minute match. Ken Shamrock has my favorite ankle lock. And,
it's the best.
Great. I know Kurt Angle's one, but I never bought Kurt Angle's one. Ken Shamrock's one I do. So fair play. I love this. It was great. And look, if the match had ended there, I'd have no criticism. My criticism comes up next. And
Okay.
it's not because of the match, it's because of what happened at the start of that match, where Alexander did a really, really dangerous move on Shelley. And, you know, I love the guns. The Motor City Machine Guns are one of my favorite tag teams. So I'd be upset anyway. But the fact that it was such a dangerous move and he got injured on it, I kind of dampened. And I said this to Gary. I said, hey, if you guys are sleeping on Bound for Glory, watch it. And he brought it up. So when that happened, I was like, oh my God, you know. So it does put a bit
Wait,
of
this was a legitimate injury? This wasn't just a...
it was
Oh.
it was unsafe, you know.
I did not realize that it was a legitimate injury. I thought it was storyline. He was just taken out before the match.
Yeah, but look, it was what it was. So this is the, you know,
for people who didn't watch, why don't you tell them what the maneuver, to quote Vince McMahon, was?
Yeah, so it was basically a power bomb. No, sorry, pile driver. It was a pile driver on stage, and it just was like, oh, this is a bit much, and that's what kind of. It sucks to see it was on Sabin and no, not Sabin. Sorry, it was on
Shelley.
And yeah, like it's a weird thing because usually Alexander's quite safe, but yeah, man, I just wasn't a fan of that to see it. One thing that does kind of, I think he's okay now. I just did a quick Google but the one thing that I would say is something that I'd like to see less of. They all do pile drivers. Stop doing pile drivers so much. Because it's just, you know, stuff happens and it
does.
I don't see the risk in it, you know.
More stuff happens on pile drivers than, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's just we don't need it, right? It's not something that needs to be done. Like
it's that kind of, when you're on the indies, you want to make the moves look as devastating as possible so you get noticed. And so I feel like there's, and this could turn into a whole thing, so I'm not going to turn into one, but to be succinct, wrestlers who are in smaller promotions tend to do more dangerous moves in the hopes that it will get them noticed. But what they need to realize is that it might get them noticed by fans, but the talent scouts in the bigger companies don't care about that. They care about your chemistry and the way that you're able to feel the crowd and respond to them in the ring. So the risk is not worth the reward. That's why Will Ospreay doesn't currently have a WWE contract and Ricochet does.
That's a very fair point. Like, I'd say it's just, you know, if this was storyline, which I'm not sure that it was, if it was, fine, it did its job, but still, less pile drivers would be great. It's the only thing that put a damper on it, because it's like the way they sold it and the way it was just like, right, there's more going on here. And
I wasn't happy with the winners, actually.
Yeah, well, the North aren't really that great of a team, in my opinion. As far as
why are they making them out like they're some awesome team? They had a fantasy match between them and the Good Brothers a couple weeks ago, and they made it out like, oh, this is a must-watch match. Like, I don't get it.
Because they're building stars. They're building stars, which is what you're supposed to do.
I still think that you should have given it to the Good Brothers just so that they could have had the championships.
No, dude,
all of the companies.
No, they will eventually, but I can't, you know, we can't hypocritically give out about WWE not making stars, and then when another company goes and makes the stars, we're like, why are you making stars? Like, you know, fair play for actually, you know, running with these guys. Yeah, but you know, I think the Good Brothers will eventually.
The North reminds me of La Resistance.
They do. That's exactly who I thought they looked like. Yeah, it was just, but that's the gimmick. They're supposed to be kind of geeks, you know.
Yeah. And
they will eventually get beaten by the Good Brothers. But
so is this the new Team Canada? I guess. Will Petey Williams be showing up any day now?
Man, I'd be totally up for Petey Williams doing some.
Canadian really, destroyers. Mr. No More Pile Drivers?
The Canadian Destroyer is not a pile driver.
Oh, okay? How dare you?
The Canadian Destroyer is not a pile driver.
You can't even say that with a straight face.
No, I can't. And look, I'm allowed to break my own rules, okay? So that's fine.
Yeah, I know. No one else gets to make rules on this stupid show.
There's a reason for that, Mr. World War III.
Oh, okay, Mr. Unforgiven 99.
Hey, hold on a second. We'll get to that. All
right. Well, let's talk about Su Yung defeating the lovely Diana Perazzo with Kimberly. Kimberly of CZW fame, actually.
So it sounds like you have a lot of your girls on this, so I'm going to let you take lead on this, sir.
Yeah, it was an all right match.
I thought it was a decent match.
I really enjoyed it. This was one of my standout matches from the night. It doesn't stand out in terms of like moves. I don't really remember the actual choreography for the match, but I remember I was captivated for the whole 15 minutes. It felt like a 25-minute match.
That's the thing.
Quite frankly.
Guys, a lot of people say, oh, AEW has a terrible women's division. Yeah, it does. Guess who doesn't? Knockouts. Again, knockouts are back.
And hey, I appreciate the fact that they still call them knockouts.
Yep.
Even if, they're not. I appreciate it.
I don't know. I liked all the ladies involved in this. Su Yung is a great talent.
Yes.
It just
who was the one that I fell in love with on this show was oh my gosh. There was another girl. There was another girl on here that I can't. Her name's just not popping into my head right now, and I was like, she's awesome.
What I will have to say is though,
what's Emma's name in AEW? I mean,
I can't remember. I just call her Emma because I just see her and I pop.
Kaylee Say?
Kaylee Say. Yeah.
Her. She's my fave.
She's my fave too.
She's my new fave.
She's great. But no, I love Su Young's whole presentation. It's just class. I'm like, you're the best. So I'm like, I was happy to see she won. She kind of has that weird Luna vibe off her. It's weird watching Unforgiven 1999 was like, they're taking a lot from this and it's all the good stuff. So she kind of feels like an Asian Luna. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. She does. That's what I get from her. And yeah, man, I think it was a really good match. A nice 15-minute brawl.
No complaints.
Super cool. Rich Swann and Eric Young.
Oh my goodness. What a match.
They burned the house down. So it was just like, what a way to cap off a show. Eric Young, obviously he is a TNA original. But this is not the Eric Young that, was in, originally there. This is like a far more mature Eric Young.
I've had multiple shows on multiple channels where I'm the star and I go fishing and hunting, and now I'm completely tatted up and I'm not a Daniel Bryan clone.
No.
And to anybody out there, now mind you, I haven't read the Newswire, if that's even still a thing, but if anybody out there tried to downplay this as Impact copying WWE for Kofi at WrestleMania,
no way. Absolutely no. There's no way.
This is completely different stories.
No, look, listen. If that is the take, I'm sorry that you can't see beyond, literal like for like.
I mean, that's literally, you'd only come up with that if you're looking at it by color. That's the only way you come up with that conclusion. And it drives me crazy.
Yeah, and I just don't. I'm not even gonna give that credence because that's just ridiculous. And I agree with you. It's ridiculous. But like, what I would say on this is, it's like, Rich Swann wouldn't be my choice initially until I saw this match, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, absolutely! Like, there's your guy who can carry your company.
This is what I've been saying. I've been trying to instill in people's mind back several years ago when I was watching PWG, when it was Generico and Steen and Rick Swann and Ricochet and what's that little luchador's name? Oh, he's adorable. Hit me with the hot stuff right now. What's his name? He's WWE right now. Kalisto. Oh my gosh. Willie Mack was, and it was just an amazing roster.
But see, Dave, my exposure to Rich Swann wouldn't be in that.
So yours was the Cruiserweight Classic, and then WWE, which I just felt like they toned him down too much.
See, that was it, and that's why when I was watching this match, I was kind of blown away, because I'm like, oh, what? Yeah, this is amazing. It's just like, I actually buy it.
He used to be in a tag team with Ricochet, and when they would come out in PWG, their theme music was, it's escaping me right now, but their theme music was iconic. It wouldn't be on the DVDs because it was, copyright reasons, but the crowd would still be singing it throughout their matches, and Ricochet and Swann would be dancing, and they were all into it, and they were just really, really fun to watch.
Yeah,
and flip, and just I've been a Rick Swann fan for consistently 5-6 years now, and I'm so glad
look,
to see him.
I'm a fan
get his
after.
due.
I'm a fan after this match. I was pulling for Eric Young because I have that allegiance to Eric Young, but when I saw it, I was like, well, both these guys are stars.
Dude,
This
that Phoenix Splash. Oh,
dude, that unbelievable. Like, it's so good. That's the thing. It's just like, it's crazy to be so, to be presented with this just pure wrestling at a very high level, and that's just what it is. It wasn't overbooked. It
Nope.
made sense. It had, it was long. It was about 20 minutes, but 20 minutes really well spent. And
But it's for the world championship. It should be a 20-minute match.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and as I said, no one was burned out by it. There was only 8 matches on this. 7. You don't include the pre-show. So, look, it was what it was. I'd say everything was timed very, very well. The show made sense. It was consistent, and it was beyond that. The wrestling was phenomenal. Where do you go from this? Obviously, we have a bit of catching up to do, watching the product. But 2020. This is the best pay-per-view of the year, with the exception of WrestleMania for some reason because of what it did. But in my opinion, this was, from a pure technical wrestling standpoint, the pay-per-view of the year. What do you think, Dave? Pure A from me.
I'm the kind of person, and people are gonna maybe hate on me for saying this because obviously I've said nothing but positive things about every match on here, but I want to give them room to grow. I don't want this to be me coming in and saying this is perfect and then be disappointed for the rest of the year. So I'm going to say that this was a B, a high B, and very respectable. And please, people, remember that when I rate pay-per-views, I don't rate them specifically by the company. I just view them by like pay-per-views of all time. So in my mind, I'm thinking, was this pay-per-view good as WrestleMania XYZ? And to my mind, no, so it's a B.
Okay. I would say, as far as a company to grow, this is the one that I'll be watching. This is the one that we're going to watch and focus on a lot more, purely because it's exciting and interesting. It doesn't have all the faults that other places have.
Right. I was in for AEW this time last year. Time last year, I was all in on AEW. Oh, no pun intended. But when Moxley debuted, and I thought things were going good, and I don't know, maybe without the shutdowns, things could have gone differently for them. But in my eyes, Impact has surpassed them in terms of watchability. I don't feel the egos. Maybe that's what I'm trying to get at. I don't feel the egos when I watch Impact. I just feel the wrestling.
And actually, you know what? You hit the nail on the head. That's what I feel too. It's like, it's just the guys and girls going out and making the best wrestling program they can. And that's all I watch wrestling for. That and stories. And I'm not getting that from AEW, and WB is tragic. So it's like, okay, But fair play to Impact Wrestling. Looking forward to covering more shows with them and for them as we kind of go on. But we're going to take a quick break, kind of reset, and come back and look at WWE from back in the day. Unforgiven 1999. Guys, we'll be back after this short break. Talk to you later.
Okay, can we actually